Hey, folks. Welcome back to Creative Ops, the podcast where we unpack how great digital experiences actually get built. I'm Tucker, and joining me again, as always, is Munir, our resident expert and the guy I call when things start breaking at scale.
Always happy to be here, Tucker.
So, everyone, today's episode is for anyone whose site is growing fast, maybe too fast. We're talking modular design systems. You've probably heard the term, but what is it? Why are companies ditching one-off custom pages for reusable building blocks? And how does this actually help you scale without the whole thing becoming a spaghetti mess of design debt? Let's get into it. All right, Munir, let's start with the basics. So when we say modular design, what do we actually mean? People might be thinking of Legos or website builders. Is that fair?
Well, honestly, I think you nailed the metaphor, the Lego metaphor. It's a good one. So a modular design system is a set of reusable components. Like think of your website as different parts like cards, buttons, layouts. Those components then can be mixed and matched to create new pages.
So instead of designing each page from scratch, you're building with a shared set of pieces?
Exactly. So it's a flexible, consistent, and way more scalable than, let's say, templates, because a lot of people mix things up between uh, uh, templates and actually modular design systems. So in a templates tend to lock you into one layout. You have that layout and you need to stick with it. You can play around a bit, but it is the same template. But since the system that you're building is most probably shared across different teams like design, development, content teams, everyone stays aligned when it comes to using a modular design system.
Okay, I think I got it. It's not a drag and drop. It's really a smarter foundation. Okay, so we've got our Lego set, but why does modular design become more important as a team or a company scales?
I think without it, things get messy really fast. You're growing, and then your website or your platform should grow with you, right? If you don't have that modular design system, you'll end up with 5 versions of the same button, for example. You would have inconsistent headers throughout different pages. Your custom layout will keep breaking down, and suddenly your site becomes impossible to maintain. It will be loaded with different plugins, different components that look similar, but if you compare it apple to apple, you'd see that there are some really minor but annoying differences.
Okay, so you're not just talking about visual inconsistency, it's performance and process issues too?
Yeah, exactly. So it creates what we call design depth. Okay. So we have technical depth, and at the same time, we have also a term that's called design depth. So everything slows down. Okay. You would see that your website loading page speed is going down. Onboarding new people for your current setup becomes painful. Your overall performance takes a huge hit, both from a team management point of view and a technical and page load speed and performance point of view.
So basically, if you don't systemize your website it starts to work against you?
Yeah, that's right. But if you have a modular system, that basically keeps things sane as you grow.
Okay. All right, let's switch gears to the marketing and content teams. These are folks that are using the CMS day to day. Does going modular make their lives easier, or does it really just shift complexity?
I think it makes it way easier if it's done right, of course, because in every subject that we take at this podcast, there is always doing it right and then getting it wrong. So let's say your marketing wants to spin up a landing page, okay, to start a new marketing campaign. With a good modular system, they just drop in pre-built sections, okay, a hero section, a testimonial section, call to action, product blocks, for example, if they want to market specific product, a specific project, a specific service that you're selling, and they're good to go.
So then they wouldn't need to wait on design or ping devs all the time?
Exactly. Like they can focus on content and conversion rather than opening tickets, calling in who's dealing with this, who's doing that. So they don't need to focus on the layout, but just focus on the content and the conversion.
Yeah, there's always a but though, isn't there?
Exactly. That's yeah, you got me there. So if the system isn't documented or structured well, it can feel confusing for, let's say, marketing teams. That's where you need proper naming for your components, proper training for your team members on how to use and utilize those components of your system, and communication, because communication is key across teams.
Okay, so you need the blocks, but you also need a guide on how to use them.
Kinda.
Okay, so paint us a picture. What does a real-world modular system actually include? Like, are we talking 5 blocks or 50 blocks, or What are we
Well,
looking at?
yeah, I would say it depends, to be perfectly honest with you, on the complexity and what you're doing on your website. But I think most solid systems starts with around 15 to 25 different components. Okay. I think that would be your sweet spot to start from, and then you can expand. Of course, you can go bigger if your platform or website requires that. But 15 to 25 components, that's, I think, the go-to number when it comes to modular design systems. You will have things like typography styles, you'd have buttons, you'd have grid layouts, you'd have different cards, you'd have predefined sections like testimonials, FAQs, banners or hero sections, call to actions, and so on and so forth.
Okay, I think I can picture that. I know you might want to reuse testimonials on specific pages or FAQs you might want to show up on certain pages, and you can just duplicate those blocks into those pages.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I guess we're talking like not hundreds of components, but just the right ones.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't need volume here. You need clarity. So that's what I said. You need to plan this well and divide your website into really clear use and reusable components. So once you have your focused pieces that you can combine, Frankenstein components that try to do everything won't work in here. If you go Frankenstein style, like I need to divide it into the slightest pieces. Like I've seen devs go through iterations like, okay, we don't need a call to action. Let's also separate the call to action into two parts. Let's have the form, and then beside the form, let's have a marketing message that would be a different component. Once you go that crazy, you would lose control.
Yeah, I can definitely picture that. I like the Frankenstein imagery there. But let's talk traps. Like, where do people usually go wrong when they try and go modular?
There are a couple of mistakes that comes to the top of my head once we think of traps. I think you can, first of all, and the most obvious one is over engineering. Too many props, too many abstraction. As I told you, you need to go full components, full sections. Don't divide those sections into even smaller components, at least at the beginning. That's number one. Number two, I think most companies, when it comes to modular design systems, what they do wrong is documentation. Let's do it now and let's talk about documentation later. But documentation is an essential part of the process. If you don't know how to use everything, then you won't be able to use anything. The third thing is, I think, bad naming. Okay, so when you separate those blocks, those modules of your website, you need to give it really, really proper naming. For example, what about if I say we have a section, a module that is called feature block? What is a feature block versus content title? So you see content title, it automatically you can think of it, okay, I have a section that has a title and that's the block that I'm adding here. But feature block, it should be anything. So try to well define your blocks, well define your modules, give it proper naming. Think of it as the end user. Don't think of it as a developer, I would say. And I think finally, I don't want to go through this. I have a long list in my mind right now, but I think no governance. So people go rogue and build outside the system. That's what most people do. That's mainly due to wanting to deliver fast or the sense of urgency when it comes to building those kind of systems. So you need to make sure that you set a system and follow it. So don't create a system and then go around it and try to do something outside of that system.
Okay, so with those mistakes, I'm hearing that basically the system then just collapses under its own complexity, and then no one trusts it.
Yeah, exactly. But keep it simple. Every time I think we go over and over again on the same main recommendations. Keep it simple, make it clear, and treat it like a product that evolves. You don't need to create the full product all at once. Step by step.
Okay. Well, tool time, right? So what's a tech stack that actually makes modular design work?
Right now, nowadays, the go-to tool would be Figma. All design starts with Figma. Okay. Component libraries, shared styles, live updates. Okay. For that, you might use different libraries, different tech stacks. Right now, if you want to go safe, there are a ton of let's say, frameworks for building front ends and design systems. But if you want to do it React, maybe Vue, but mainly React, ideally with TypeScript. This way, you have a ton of pre-built components, plugins that you can drag and drop and add to your system. When it comes to styling, I prefer going with Tailwind CSS for clean and scalable styling. There might be people who would argue that why don't you go with Bootstrap? I'm also in for Bootstrap, but Tailwind seems to be more lightweight, and I think the modern designers and modern front-end devs, they prefer Tailwind over Bootstrap. And finally, there is a tool that is called Storybook. I don't know, I recommend it for our clients when it comes to documenting and testing components in isolation. Like there you can, it really pushes you into the mindset of creating a separate component, a separate section. And outside of that, I think for CMS, you definitely need to go headless. There are a ton of CMSs out there, Sanity, Contentful. They all support modular content structures. And I think that's it. Yeah, I hope that I haven't forgot anything about tools.
Okay. And for the design dev handoff?
For that, yeah, thanks for the reminder. I think we have tools like Zero Height or Backlight. Those tools help you bridge the gap really well between designers and developers. So, because, designers, they don't get or don't understand or even don't care about how to implement their designs, their beautiful, shiny designs. So those two tools, they really help bridge that gap really well.
All right, fantastic. So let's say I'm leading a team and we've got a mess of pages, like no consistency, it's just awful, and I'm ready to go modular. Where do I start?
First thing first, you need to start with component audits. What layouts do you have on your website? What patterns keep repeating across your website? What patterns that you would like to see going repeated over your website, but you can't do right now? And what is inconsistent? Those are the questions that you need to ask yourself, and that's your starting point.
So step one is to look at what's already happening.
Yeah, exactly. Then define your core set of components, try to come up with that, and then try to rebuild just one or two key pages using them. Okay, so again, you don't need to go full power mode over modular system. Just take one of two pages, definitely not the main page, and try to build them. Use them as your MVP. Okay, once you have an MVP in your hand, and definitely you need to bring in a designer, by the way, early on, who understands those systems, not just visuals, and let them work on this hands-on. Like, this is not for, I would say, business owners. You need a designer.
Okay, well, hopefully I'll be leading a team that would be competent. But what you're saying as well is this is like a process, and right, not just a one-off sprint.
Yeah, totally. Don't aim for. I mean, you're not gonna be doing this for 1 or 2 weeks. Again, just keep in mind that you don't need to aim for perfection. Just build, test, and improve over time. You need to have cycles. I don't have a recommended number for that, but a couple of cycles of building, testing, and improving over time to get a final product that is really can go into the market.
Just really refine. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So, all right, I think it's time for us to wrap this up. So if your site is meant to grow with your business, and let's be honest here, most are, then modular design isn't just a nice to have. It's really how you build something that scales cleanly.
Yeah, it's about working smarter, setting the foundations early, and preparing your future self and team. And I'm here. I think your team will definitely thank you later on when you switch from a template or a monolith system to a modular system.
All right. So Munir, if someone wants help fixing or building a system, where can they find you?
Well, you can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn or to Tucker on LinkedIn. You can visit our website, pentacreative.co.uk/contact. And you can just shoot us a message. I would be always happy to help you.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and thanks to all of you for listening to Creative Ops. If you're liking the show, give us a rating, send us to a teammate. You guys know what to do, how to interact. But also let us know what topics you want us to cover next. Catch you in the next one.